Peace. It's like little after 7 in the morning, headed over here to my preschool, and there's something that I wanted to share with those of you who work with youth and who have children that demonstrate this kind of quality, and one way to be able to deal with it. Now, in my preschool class, it's one child that treats every day like opposite day. And what I mean by that is, if all of the children are standing there with their hats on, he gonna take his hat off. If all of the children got their jackets zipped up, he ain't gonna have his jacket zipped up. He does the total opposite. If everybody's walking in a straight line, he's gonna get in the line and be walking with his head to the side like that. If everybody's supposed to be quiet, he gonna be like, just making noise, right? And some people would interpret that behavior as adversarial or a child being a rebel. And usually people respond to that by just checking that behavior or striving to get children like that in line. But when you look at it in another way, a child like that at that age, now I'm working with preschoolers, so that's 3 and 4 year olds. A child at that age is already demonstrating leadership qualities. A child at that age is already demonstrating their ability to make their own decisions outside of the conventions or expectations that some people have. You could look at it as a rebel, or you could look at it as a child having the capacity to think for themselves and to be sure about it. Because sometimes you have children at that age that are very impressionable and they're looking around at other children to get some kind of expectation of what they should or shouldn't do. And that's not bad. It's not always good. But a child like that, sometimes people's natural response is to just be like, get in line. Stop making noise, do this, that, and the third. Now, one of the things I learned is when you celebrate that sense of leadership and you look at that child like, wow, they're able to think for themselves at that age. They're not just a go along, get along person at that age. What I do is I pull them aside and I celebrate their leadership quality. So if they're doing something to stand outside of the norm of the other children, I pull them aside further and be like, yo, could you help me do this? Could you help me do this over there? So I introduce responsibility. That is one way that I put it in its proper context or perspective. So if they're doing something that's outside of the normal conventions of the other children, I also pull them aside and say, yo, could you help me do this over there? And they automatically step up as a leader because they're already doing it. But when you introduce responsibility, you also show them that, hey, if you're gonna choose to behave this way or do things this way, you also have to be responsible, because some of the other children may not feel comfortable or confident enough to be able to do some of the things that you're doing, And once I introduce responsibility and start giving them tasks, then they begin to step into that role of leadership, not just being an outlaw or a rebel or somebody that you think you gotta check. And that's unfortunate for some teachers because they may not be looking at it like that. But I'm just sharing it with those of you so that you can apply some healthier ways to deal with some of our youth, maybe your own children who are expressing those qualities that you may just deem being an outlaw or a rebel or just doing stuff just to do it. No, give them some tasks, give them some responsibility, and in giving them the responsibility, tell them about how you have to demonstrate leadership. You're already showing that you're able to think for yourself and people will follow you. And you can't lead them in the wrong direction. So I will, this was inspiring, empowering, and educating, and gave those of you a little bit of insight on, something that was just on my mind. So, peace.